20 years ago, Sudbury was one of a number of Ontario cities that the provincial government opted to restructure, merging several smaller entities into one big one. It was hotly debated then, and even now is still somewhat contentious. Nick Dunne covers the northeastern part of the province for Ontario Hubs, and he joins us now from Sudbury to explain. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jayan.
Now, just before we get started, so that we are all on the same page, have a look at this. What is municipal amalgamation? Amalgamation is the merger of a set of municipalities or municipal councils into one single tier municipality. That new municipality is governed by a single council that offers shared local and regional services, such as transit and garbage. There are benefits and drawbacks to amalgamation. Generally, it's understood that it makes for more efficient, less costly governments, but while amalgamation may cut down on the duplication of services, it also reduces local decision-making capacity. Ontario went through its largest period of amalgamation in the 1990s, when then Premier Mike Harris reduced the number of municipalities from 850 to 444 as part of his common sense revolution. There are 173 single-tier municipalities in Ontario. Now, Nick, the city of Greater Sudbury comprises of quite a large area. Can you describe what that merger entailed?
Yeah, so 7 municipalities were merged together, Jayan. We had Sudbury, Nickel Centre, Valley East, Capreol, Rayside Balfour, Onaping Falls, and Walden. And these were brought all together under the city of Greater Sudbury, which is now 3,228 square kilometers. And to put that in perspective, that's larger than the city of Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, Edmonton, and Calgary combined for just about an area of about 160,000 people. So it's quite a large municipality, and it's very dispersed in terms of its population concentration.
So let's talk about the rationale. Why create a megacity?
Well, as our amalgamation explainer says, the rationale under the common sense revolution was to have fewer politicians and save money under the Harris government. The idea is that you don't have 6 head librarians anymore, 6 CAOs, so you're cutting costs at a staffing level. But if you were to look at the reality of it, oftentimes service levels had to go up. They had to harmonize with the rest of the municipality. Garbage collection had to be the same across the board, and staffing levels. If a librarian in Sudbury is getting paid $60,000 a year on average, while someone in Walden was getting paid $40,000, they would be raising the salary to $60,000 as opposed to lowering everyone else's salary to $40,000. So all in all, that on top of the downloading of municipal services, we haven't really seen those kind of cost-cutting measures. But that was the rationale in the 1990s.
Now, your article for TVO.org looks at a number of things, one of those things being the challenges with the amalgamation itself. What have some of those been?
Well, Jay, and when you have such a large municipality, you're looking at Ward 2 alone is about 797 square kilometers. It's a huge, huge area. So you're looking at all these incredibly different interests and values, right? So someone in Onaping Falls, for example, doesn't really want their taxpayer dollar going to a downtown development, right? Likewise, people kind of in the inner city aren't necessarily interested in garbage collection in Rayside Balfour, right? So it's very difficult to manage those interests within your ward. Jeff McCausland, councillor for Ward 4, was telling me that he has the hipster enclaves of Kathleen Street in the Donovan, all the way to 100-year-old family farms and suburban areas like Azilda. So even managing your constituents as a councillor can be difficult, let alone as a mayor of the city.
I imagine, there are groups of hipsters and groups of farmers who are, praising amalgamation. Have there been any successes to note?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, you can look at the Northern Ontario School of Medicine as something that was, was a real regional effort to bring that together, not just for the city of Sudbury, but all of Northern Ontario. But the amalgamation certainly helped in getting that moved forward. You can also look at post-Walkerton. the water treatment plants and the whole set of regulations that came about that. Towns like Onaping Falls and Levack had their water treatment run by mining companies. That's something that a lot of people don't realize in Northern Ontario. At one point, in the mid 20th century, going even up to like fairly recently, the mining companies owned property, or houses rather, and people would be renting from them. They were running the water treatment until post-Walkerton, when it became a little too expensive and the city had to take on those expenses. So, you can look at that kind of infrastructure, and you can look at that regional kind of effort to provide these services as a bit of a success within the scope of Greater Sudbury.
Now, we mentioned off the top, it's been 20 years since amalgamation in Sudbury. There's always going to be people who are going to be for it and against it. Has that been the case in Sudbury?
Yeah, well, going back to Councillor McCausland, he was telling me about some of his constituents when he was, going door to door in Rayside Balfour. He's described them as physically shaking and just in anger about amalgamation. There was a real sense that these towns, which were largely independent from the city, you didn't have to go to Sudbury to get groceries, for example, in Rayside Balfour or a place like Whitefish. So there was a real sense that the identity of a town was robbed. And that's even come forward on council. Ward 2 Councillor Michael Vagnini has put forward motions before to consider de-amalgamation. These haven't really gone forward in a major way. They haven't ever been pushed through. I think the consensus is that amalgamation, despite the cost savings not occurring, have been beneficial, especially in Northern Ontario. It's always been the case that Northern Ontario struggles to get what it needs from the province and even the federal government. So in creating a larger entity called Sudbury, there's greater power there to lobby for funding, lobby for grants, and other pieces of infrastructure, because this is how Northern Ontario has always had to kind of survive. This area has always felt like it's been neglected infrastructurally, socially, while generating so much revenue from mining that created Bay Street and what it is today. So ultimately, even though the kind of on paper reasons for amalgamation didn't really come through, I think a lot of people feel that it's been an essential part of Sudbury's survival in the north.
Nick Dunne, I want to thank you so much, and I wouldn't be surprised if we talk about amalgamation in, say, another 10 or 20 years from now.
It'll always be contentious.
Thank you again so much. That's Nick Dunne, our Northeastern Ontario Hub journalist.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.